Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Will Morrill. This week we're going to jump into some current events. We'll talk a little bit of Luke the Chef, UFC 300, obviously, and then we'll touch on a little bit of wrestling. A big retirement just recently happened. We got the Olympic trials coming up, so we'll finish it off with some wrestling. All right.
Sounds good.
So let's jump right in. We had Luke the Chef in this weekend at Stout PGH for a seminar. I was unable to attend this seminar, which is fine because I'm a jiu-jitsu guy anyhow. So that's all right. And I've already mastered striking. Yeah, you just they're going to try to hit you in the head. Just move out of the way. Like, it's not that hard. Yeah. Okay, so anyhow, but, I've talked to people about it. I've saw pictures, videos, things of that nature in the seminar, just from an outsider's perspective who didn't participate in it, but from the visual, it looked like it had to be amazing. It looked like it had to be amazing. The room was packed on the videos I saw, very high energy. I saw several Instagram stories. Best seminar ever. Best seminar I've ever been to. So why don't you go ahead and jump into that? That's
your inkling is correct. It was a fantastic seminar. Like you said, it was huge. I think we had over 80 people there. Like you said, high energy, great, techniques being shown, great concepts behind it all. It really couldn't ask for a whole lot better. And additionally, the chef himself, he comes across on social media as being a super cool guy. He is.
Nailed
He's
it.
a super cool dude. So,
yes.
Really just solid all around. So the seminar, oh man, there's just so many key things that are important here. Number one is I came out and I gave one of the worst introductions of all time. I came out.
Dude, drop the ball that hard?
Oh yeah, I came out and I was
me.
yeah, guys, let's all bring it together and everything.
Did you rehearse it?
And not at all. I just went out and started talking.
Terrible.
And so I was if you guys are here, you already know who this dude is. He doesn't really need much of an introduction. So with that, here's Luke the Chef, right? It was just super fast.
I'd have been weighing it at 172 pounds, fully hydrated.
Gave him the Bruce Buffer.
Oh, dude, I'd have did the Buffer 360, fist bumped him.
Oh, so I come in, low energy, terrible introduction, hand it off to Luke. Luke takes over. Like Bruce Buffer introduced him, right? He comes in and just the whole room just is sucked onto him. They just that's all they can pay attention to, right? And so then a couple other key things here. One, despite the fact that it's a big group, he made everyone feel like it was small. You know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
He
that is difficult.
And again, it's hard to, and dude, you and I are literally professional teachers. It's hard to even explain how he does it. But he did a great job of making this massive room feel small, feel intimate, feel like it was interactive. You know what I mean? He would, point to people for questions. He would, ask questions, make it interactive, and also he's not trying to come at it from corporate speak. He just speaks the way he speaks, and that's what everyone loves about him. You know what I mean? So that interaction, fantastic. Also, lots of people said it was the only seminar they did that had music. And he was in charge of the music.
No way.
So the vibes were just fantastic. High energy, and high energy the whole time too. The seminar itself went 2.5, almost 3 hours, and then he did 13 rounds of sparring afterwards.
Dude, what a monster.
Yeah. Well, he took a bunch of pictures and then did 13 rounds of sparring.
That's incredible.
Yeah, dude. We were there for well over 4 hours. Probably closer to 5.
Bro.
And it was high energy the whole time. And people loved
you know how much
it.
you would have to pay me to do that?
Dude. Then the other thing that I think was really unique about him is, there's a bunch of things, but and I don't want to give it away, but he has a story. He has a narrative that connects the whole seminar. So he's not just hey, here's some cool techniques, here's some other cool techniques, here's some setups. Everything is connected.
Oh, now I'm so disappointed.
Dude, it was just so good and so natural for him. And also he's not just a fighter, he's a great teacher too. At one point, he gets guys started on something. I'm talking to him about something totally different, or oh yeah, that's how I teach that to everyone, or whatever. And in the middle of talking to me, he's looking at me too. He goes, hold up, you're doing that wrong, and went and corrected. He's so dialed in as an instructor, he can't allow you to do it wrong in front of him. You know what I mean? And just gives you the best cues. gives you stories of his experiences, but then also acknowledges the fact that like this is my style. There's other ways to do this. You know what I mean? Like just like as down to earth and like while also being the highest of quality possible.
Dude, you got to bring him back.
Oh, we absolutely are.
You got to bring him back.
I mean, dude, literally immediately after like 4+ hours of seminar, there were a bunch of people who were like, dude, he's got to come back.
Yeah, dude, I heard like we lost 30 students because they're moving to Iowa.
I wouldn't be surprised. The dude's awesome.
Like I'm going with him.
Yeah, man. So like, really, just like can't say enough like good things about like the seminar itself and just like how he runs things. The intangibles, the vibe he creates, the way he makes everyone feel there while they're training. It's fun. It's not just like, here's work. That's my job. I'm like, hey guys, we're gonna do these drills. I'll do my best to be entertaining, but we're gonna do these drills, right? Yeah. He's just like about it. And also actually something he told me right before the seminar started, and something that I think I kind of, this is a weak point for me as an instructor, is because I'm so big on biomechanics and I'm so big on the physics behind fighting and stuff, and I know all the A&P involved in it, like, sometimes I can get a little overly
like nitpicky
and just like dive farther into the details than probably some people need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he just like rides that line perfectly where he's going to tell you everything you need to know, but nothing you don't. You know what I mean? And especially in a seminar format, that's perfect. Also, the way he, not just the way he taught, but what he chose to teach, it was like appropriate for all levels. So like we had people in there who could like barely throw a switch kick, right?
Yeah.
And he was able to like do a whole section about like switch kicks and setting up from, I don't want to give too much away, but like all about that, and people were still able to follow along,
Yeah.
So it was just like really, really as high level of a, seminar as you can get. And then when we dive into like the actual techniques and concepts he showed, all just like incredible, like super, super incredible. I would say the closest seminar we've had to it is, do you remember how Six Guns seminar was kind of?
Yeah, I did Six Guns. It was sick.
It was similar to that in some ways in terms of like how the content was structured, sort of. And again, what I like about it is it's concept based. He's not just like, here's a cool technique, right? Like for example, certain Thais who teach seminars, they're like, check out this technique. Now you guys go do that technique, right? And sometimes it's a language barrier, and sometimes it's just like, hey, this is a technique I use. But it's not always like concept based, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
His, even if he doesn't tell you it's concept based, is, you know what I mean? And like that just like permeates through the whole thing. So like, again, dude, can't say enough good things about it. Just, the seminar was awesome. He was super cool. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that.
Dude, that's great to hear. I imagined it was going to be really cool because, like, I follow him on Instagram, and obviously I've never met him, but, like, like, you can't, like, you can be fake to a certain extent on Instagram, but, like, everything is, like, dude, like, he just seemed like a super cool dude, fun person to be around in a training atmosphere, especially.
Totally. Yeah, and like I can guarantee you personally would get along with him fantastically. You know what I mean? He's just like,
that's awesome.
He acts like a regular dude, teaches like the superstar he is. You know what I mean? It's just,
dude, that's perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. Now, did you get any like inside info on like what's got coming up next for him? Like as a fan, I want to know.
There's nothing that is publicly available right now.
Oh, so you did? Oh, you dog. Okay. I should have prepped you that I was going to say that. You could have been like, don't bring that up. But yeah.
As far as I know, he doesn't have any fights coming up. There's nothing that I've seen on the internet about him fighting. So,
Yeah, that's all. And I get all my information from the internet.
Yep.
It's the most trusted source you can have.
Absolutely.
Right on. Cool, man. So, you got anything else to add to that incredible weekend?
Man, I could talk about like the nitpicky things, and I could sit here and tell you techniques and stuff all day, but like I think that really just sums it up. It's
so here goes some. Realistically, like how soon could we get him back for another one? Like, are you thinking like, like around this time next year?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We could absolutely do that for sure.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Potentially even sooner. I would say like we probably don't want to go sooner than maybe like 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, honestly, anything after that, let's rock.
Yeah, sounds cool to me. It sounds like something to make like maybe an annual thing.
Dude, absolutely.
Yeah,
and, dude, especially if we could like maybe get it like to be a couple days. Maybe you could teach like
like a camp.
maybe he teaches like a beginning seminar. This is just off the top of the head right now, but like day 1 is like, hey, this is fundamentals, like how the chef does it. And then day 2 is like, hey, this is for more of like competitive.
Bro, you could totally do like, you could make it like a menu. I'm so smart.
Order it up.
So
you order it up, and the chef cooks it up, brother.
Yeah. You do like a mini like intensive camp thing. Like maybe it's like a weekend thing or whatever. And like, you know, the menu is the different classes or courses.
And it could literally just be like.
Now, flyer can be a menu, dude.
Dude, that would be so sick. Dude, that's.
Dude, I'm only gonna cut in like 5% for that idea too.
I mean, dude, that's a steal to me. That's genius.
You got it right here.
But,
all right, cool, man.
That would be great, you know, and especially if we have like a long weekend, you know, like like I said, he sparred 13 rounds just with like whoever, you know. Let's go. If we could do like a whole like longer session, maybe get like.
Dude, that's an incredible thing though. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm just gonna hop in and go ahead.
I gotta tell you something else about that. So not only is he sparring with just like everyone, right? Like, so you saw the videos of like Saenchai sparring, right?
Yeah.
And he's tapping, right? Partly just because it's like a cool way to learn, partly because he's like a tiny dude, and you know, if he goes hard with Lonnie, you know, like,
yeah,
you know, despite all the YouTube comments I've seen of Lonnie sparring Saenchai, guess what? If they go full force, Saenchai, he's gonna lose. I'm sorry to say that, but it just is what it is. Luke like got like he wasn't like hurting anybody or anything, but like it was like a good intensity. He's like, oh, this is awesome. The other thing is, he let everybody sweep him. And he pretended like they did it for real.
Oh, dude, that is like such a skill to have. Mm-hmm. Like to like to have people walk away thinking that they really did something. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And like there were times he would like let people hit him and stuff. His nose got a little bloody, and like he just, again, zero ego about it. He's just like, yeah, dude, we're sparring. Is what it is.
Yeah. Just I couldn't imagine. Like I do seminars, like having to roll with like everybody after the seminar, and I've heard people who do that. You know what I mean? But like that's an impressive thing to me.
Now imagine that you do this seminar, you roll with everyone afterwards, and during those rolls, you let them all hit a buggy choke on you, and you make them think that it was real.
Oh, I couldn't do that.
Now I'm not going to say that there weren't.
I couldn't bring myself to do that.
I'm not going to say some people maybe didn't get like some legit sweeps, maybe, but I can also guarantee you there were a handful of them that I could tell where he definitely let it happen and he sold it.
Yeah.
And can you imagine if you're just like a regular dude and you swept the chef? And he makes you think it was real.
Yeah, man, I could imagine.
Dude, like he's awesome.
Sounds like an incredible experience. Sounds like you need to charge more for that.
Oh, dude, and also like for our like higher level fighters, you know, our pros, Britt, Lucas, you know, Brody, he's you know kind of at that same level. Like for them to get that feel, you know, like hey, this is that next level. Like that's just not only is that next level, this is as good as it gets in America, you know, like
right.
I think that's just like a great thing for our guys to experience, you know, and like I said, not just our top guys. He sparred with everyone, dude. He was sparring with you know Tim and Mike. Mike, you
nice,
know? That was his last day.
Yeah, that was his last day. I'm really glad he got to partake in that. I really like
for
that
real.
Yeah,
what a great experience for your last day training in the States. You know?
Yeah. So get a little chefing.
Yeah, I mean, I could sit here and just tell you little anecdotes all day, but like overall, man, just
right on.
Great seminar, great vibes. Yeah, we definitely gonna have Luke back.
All right, sick, man. Thanks for coming through and providing such a great experience for so many people. Yeah. All right, so you want to jump to UFC 300 now?
Yeah, let's dive into some 300.
All right, so one thing that we discussed off camera is we're not gonna like break down the fights and like relive the whole thing. We're just going to give you like our opinions on standout moments, right? Because UFC 300 being such a landmark event, I don't feel like we have to like replay it for you.
If
right?
you didn't see it, it's probably you're not going to get a whole lot out of this conversation.
Actually,
no, I shouldn't say that. There's some things that are going to take away, but regardless, we're not going to give you the play-by-play for 6 hours worth of fights.
All right, so I'm going to start with, just like the less exciting part, right? You know what I mean? The first fight of the night, Cody came out, had a really great first round, was up 1-0 going into the second round, ended up giving up his back in the second round, lost by rear naked strangle. Big Cody Garbrandt fan. I've known him since he was like basically like a kid, and he's always been just like such a cool dude. followed his whole career. So I obviously wish nothing but the best for him.
Absolutely.
So, you know, when things don't work out in his way, it's a bummer, you know, because I really want to see things go well for him, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still felt like, you know, like he had really great moments in the fight.
He did, and also it's, you know, he lost to an absolute monster.
The crazy thing is that opened up the early prelims, and it was champ versus champ.
Dude, that's what I was gonna say.
They were both UFC champions.
How crazy is UFC 300 where the opening fight?
Like, think about it,
and not just champs, but like good. I mean, any champ's good, obviously, but like these are like decorated champs. You know
well, I mean, it's like a super fight too. It's like champ versus champ, right? Like, had this fight happened whilst they were champions, right? Then it's like
biggest fight of all time.
Yeah, you know, it's the Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez. It's the
dude, it's bigger.
You know,
it's Silva Jones. You know.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's that. Let's move forward to the Kayla Harrison Holly Holm fight.
Yeah, and that was in the regular prelims, right?
That was during the regular prelims. That had a little extra of my attention. I was very interested to see how Kayla Harrison did, especially dropping down to 135.
I thought that was going to be a bigger issue than it was.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a bigger issue than it was. And then obviously, I have a little closer eye on the female flyweights and bantamweight divisions. I try not to miss anything in those divisions for obvious reasons. You know, so I actually I was like, man, I just felt like the weight cut would play more of a factor, and I had money on Holly Holm. You know, I didn't put a bunch, and you know my typical unit, I bet 1/10 of my unit, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I just like felt like the weight cut was going to have a bigger impact. For those of you that you don't know, Kayla Harrison fought most of her career at 155, right? Surpassing 145 to go to 135 to be in the UFC.
And not only that, but wasn't her Olympic judo medal at
that's
73?
What I was gonna. Yeah, that's what I was gonna jump into. 172, I believe it was.
Gotcha.
It might even be 176. I don't know. I can't remember the kilo, but
no. For reference,
I think it was 78 kilo, which is like 172.
When I was boxing, I did the majority of my boxing at 165. And my senior year, I was too big. So I did the first half of the season at 175 and then went back down to 65. But we're talking about someone who's up at that same height, or that same weight rather, now going down to 135. Can you imagine me making 135?
No.
Especially
but
at this
I mean,
age.
It's definitely a different body
It's different
types.
because the height's obviously.
You know what I mean?
But still just
And
weight.
I don't know judo. I don't know if there's a weight class heavier. Like, I don't know the judo weight classes. Like, for example, I know the women's wrestling weight classes, and I know that 76 kilos is the heaviest women's, is it even? Yeah, 76 kilos is the heaviest women's wrestling weight. So heavyweight
is above
heavyweight.
that.
No. That's heavyweight.
The cutoff.
Yeah. For example, men's freestyle heavyweight is 125 kilos, which I believe is 285 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Women's heavyweight is 76 kilos. That's 167 pounds. So the woman who wins the Olympics at 76 kilos this year weighed in at 167. Like, that's just all there is to it. So I don't know, like, how much higher judo goes, like, in their weight classes than than women's wrestling does. You would assume, being grappling arts, they're probably close.
Relatively similar.
So that might have been heavyweight too. That might have been
true.
the heaviest. So
now let me ask you this: do they have to weigh in? And I don't expect you to know this, but do you know? Do they have to weigh in like mat side, and do they have to weigh in the gi?
So here goes what I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess yes, they had to weigh in the gi. I'm gonna guess no, they did not weigh in mat side. So Kayla competed in the 2012 and 2016 Olympics. Those were the Olympics she won. At that point in time, now I am under the impression, I am not sure, but I feel like they are governed by similar governing bodies. Okay. Now, the wrestling governing body during those years, we had night before weigh-ins, meaning you weighed in at, like, let's say 7 p.m. and then you competed the next morning. Right. So it wasn't like MMA where you weigh in and then you compete the next evening. You competed the next morning. And nowadays in your larger promotions, you're weighing in at like 11 a.m. and not competing until the following night. Right. So it's like you're getting like 30 some hours
or
right?
something. You know?
But still, a night before weigh-ins, a night before weigh-in. And that's what we were doing for wrestling during that time. I believe it was 2017 or maybe it was 2018, I believe, when UWW, United World Wrestling, where we switched to 2-hour weigh-ins, meaning that you weigh in and then the first match starts 2 hours later, right? So that did impact some people's weight classes. Some people had to move up because for a night before weigh-in, I could make 70 kilo.
Right.
But 2 hours before, I can't compete after making 70 kilo in 2 hours.
Right.
You know, so some people would move up. So what I'm getting at with this is like Kayla Harrison at what I believe was like 78 kilo, 172 pounds. Like if that was heavyweight, like not everybody who's wrestling 125 kilo weighs 125
right,
kilo.
Exactly.
Like some of them are like 105 kilo.
It's like how heavyweights in the UFC, some
right,
of them are
right.
240.
So like I don't know how full
right
of, and like for all I know she was cutting to it. For all I know.
That's we don't know.
I don't know. But I guess there's a possibility that she wasn't a full 172. Although watching her at 155, I think she was a full 172. You know, and then seeing her make 135, that's incredible. And then to come out and put that performance on, not only that performance, I think it's really good to see her have to go to the second round as well. Because like coming off the storm between the first and the second, that's when you find out how this weight cut affected you. You know what I mean? Like first round, maybe towards the end of the first round, you might start seeing some weight cut, you know, fatigue show. But it's when you get that heart rate down and then that heart rate comes back up, you're like, oh, okay. And she looked incredible in the second round. Her ground and pound looked phenomenal. She is a different beast with elbows. Now, that brings me to another point, because why do we say she's a different beast with elbows? In the PFL, not allowed elbows. Why?
Cuts,
and it's a tournament format, right? So the cuts, like, you know what I mean? Like, they'll prevent you, you know, they take time to heal. They prevent you from fighting when it's like really not like a bodily injury or a brain issue.
Right. It's
a
superficial
thing.
It's
a superficial thing.
It
right?
shouldn't prevent you from fighting, but it will.
And here goes why it prevents you is because then it's going to open up and it provides not an accurate assessment of the competition. Right? You know what I mean? For example, like let's say like I'm going to fight somebody who I beat 10 out of 10 times, but I got cut 2 days before that fight. Right? Well, now this fight might get stopped by this cut because it takes nothing to reopen this cut. All right. So she did have a fight in Invicta, which did allow elbows, and it was a bloody fight. She utilizes her elbows from ground and pound real well. I am projecting her to be the champion. I think she should fight for it next fight.
I don't see any reason why not. I mean, if you do that to Holly Holm, like,
I mean, who's currently sitting as the number one contender? Is it Juliana Pena?
Well, you could also make a...
So Raquel Pennington is the champ.
Okay.
I believe Juliana Pena is probably the number one contender, right? Now, here's the thing. Are they, like, I'm not even sure, like, are they already scheduled to fight?
They don't even know.
Right? So let's just say, like, here goes the thing. If they're not scheduled to fight, they're probably going to get scheduled to fight soon, right? Okay. Option A, let's just say Pena's out of the question, right? It's open. Kayla gets it.
Straight to the top, yeah.
Boom, straight to the top. That's the next fight you make. Let's say that Pena, or maybe even somebody else has the shot. Like, you know what I mean? Let's say that someone already has acquired the shot, right? Has it been signed? If not, sign it now. You now have, if you have not signed it, you have nothing. Like, you both should want to sign it. Raquel Pennington and this person. You should want to go get this paycheck before Kayla Harrison jumps in.
Yeah, because you know who you don't want to fight is Kayla Harrison.
Exactly. So, you know what I mean? Like, sign that bout agreement now, get that fight going, and then Kayla will fight the winner of that.
Yes.
Okay? If it's already signed, then after that, Kayla gets the winner of it.
Let me throw a dark horse into this.
Go ahead.
And granted, maybe this is actually kind of stupid based on the last fight, but do you think there's any shot that Shevchenko wants to go up and weight?
Well, no, because she's not the champ.
I know, but I'm just saying,
but just to move up
get
in
into
weight?
the mix.
I don't know.
And does that affect anything that you said?
It does affect.
Because then maybe they're like, hey, we'll set up this title fight and Kayla against. Like,
again,
Shevchenko.
maybe I should have done some research before bringing this up, but I didn't know I was going to talk about this.
Me either.
Yeah, I thought it was just going to be like, yeah, Kayla Harrison's a beast. She's going to be the champ, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm going down this rabbit hole. I would say that if Shevchenko does want to move up, maybe she could fight Kayla Harrison.
That's what I was going to say. On the same card.
Yeah, that like Rocky and whoever the number one is, I believe it's Pena, fight, and then winners.
Turns into a little
four-person. Yeah, a little 4-person tournament with Rocky as holding the belt right now. You know what I mean? And I just don't see any. I don't
see that happening, to be honest.
I don't see any of them beating Kayla Harrison.
Yeah,
I mean, who was her loss to that? Oh, man, I'm gonna not get her last name right, but there was a Brazilian woman in the PFL 45 and 55 who beat Kayla. And she kind of got picked apart on the outside. And I just don't see like, I just see her being able to force her way a little bit more at 135.
Definitely.
Like, even if she's getting kind of like pick that, I just feel like she could like wade through it. And I don't think her striking is terrible either. And it's probably getting better every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And stuff. But I see her as the champ.
Within a year for sure.
I remember you used to do these bets where like at the end of the year, who's the champ?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, so you could put money on it and be like, oh, like I think by the end of 2024, Kayla Harrison's going to be the champ. And that's what I think, you know?
I got Leon Edwards on that.
Yes, that's it. That's how I knew about it. Because
you know which one I missed by this much? Aspinall.
I've
been on Aspinall from the get-go.
Do they count interims?
I don't believe so. And also I think the timeline might have been off on that. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, dude, I agree 100%.
And it was like buying stock. Like you bought in at a low rate.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about that fight. I think that pretty much covered it all. Do you have anything really to add?
No, man. I thought you covered a lot more than I even had up here. So
yeah, well, like I said, like, you know, with Brittany being like, you know, like in my opinion, Brittany is
at that level.
Brittany's 12 to 18 months from being in the UFC, in my opinion. And in your opinion, and in her opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I have to watch these fights with a different eye, right? Exactly. You know what I mean? So yeah, I pay pretty close attention to 35s and 25s, and we're going to be fighting these women.
Absolutely.
You know? And I'm excited for that. All right, so what else? What were the? Let's go to the Aljamain Sterling, Calvin Kattar fight. Yeah. So first thing, before I start talking some shit on Aljo, I just want to say I cannot believe how good he looked at 145. Yes. He looked thick.
Yep.
Like, I can't believe he just fought 135 in August. He looks like a real 45er. I think he is. I think he is a real 45er. And I think he's phenomenal, and I think he's very good, and I think he's going to make waves, and I think he's going to push himself towards a title shot. However, I do feel like he could have done more in the fight.
I agree.
His grappling is very good. It's very good. And, you know, there were some times where he was in that top side position where, you know, he's winning the fight, and I just felt like he could have, like, went with a little more urgency to, like, make statements.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
more dominant positions.
Armchair quarterback, but...
And especially on such a large event with, you know, larger
especially bonuses. In the third. Yeah. And there's
actually, that. Not right now, but we should talk about those bonuses at some point.
Yeah, maybe we'll touch on them at the end. They're going to come up.
Yeah.
Because I got things to say.
Cool.
But I just felt like, you know, I felt like he was in so much control of that fight. And I felt like there was opportunities for him to, like, really, like, try to, like, separate. And, like, he could have, like, I think he could have showed off a little bit.
Yes.
Like, his grappling is, like, good.
He showed that there was a level of difference between his and Kattar's grappling, right?
Oh, like there was significant level.
Yeah, and when you have that, you know, difference. Okay, it's like this. Imagine you and I are gonna have a super fights on, I don't know, the next Stout fights, you know, jiu-jitsu match, right?
Yeah.
You and I are you know, grappling. Okay, you take me down, you get the top half, and I'm just like kind of like trying to stop you from passing, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to give up this position, and you just kind of stay there.
So I just like ride it out, win the decision.
Exactly. It's like everyone's like, dude, Mike, we all know that you could have just crushed Will. Why didn't you hit a cartwheel pass? Why didn't you stand up and take him down
I would have stood up. I would have went knee cut, back step, saddle, underhook, knee cut through, got
to a submission, let it go, stand up, take me down again. Like, you know, you'd be put on a show. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm getting at is I think that, well, that's what you're getting at, I think, is that, again, he could have used... I
would have liked to have seen it. And, like, you know, like, I'm not in his head. Maybe, you know, things felt a little different in there than what they looked like from the outside.
That's true.
Maybe he just really needed to get that win because he didn't want to drop 2 in a row, and he, like, wanted to leave no opportunity for error. I just felt like he has the skill and ability to do more than what he did.
I agree. And
they didn't give him a post-fight speech.
I saw that. Was that just because it was...
I hope it was because of time and not like they were like, oh, screw him. You know?
Yeah, that would be a bummer to see that.
I would not like that.
And again, also, something else that we should consider here is that, one, perhaps that Kattar felt different than the way you and I saw, right? There's that. And also, this is important too, like, I would be scared to stand in front of Kattar. You know what I mean? So
I'm not asking him to stand. I'm asking him to top side control to, like, try to get to the mount. maybe separate his chest, which
Right.
does offer opportunity for Cater to get back to a guard. But I mean, is that a concern of yours?
What I'm saying is, like, if he's in top side, is he concerned that if he tries to pass, that Cater's going to get a chance to stand up? You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's going through his head too.
Yeah.
I don't know. But regardless, I'm with you. I think that he probably could have and should have done more.
Yeah, could have and should have done more.
Yeah.
Was that the last fight on the prelims, or was there another one? I feel like there was another one after it, but nothing's coming.
No,
off.
yeah, Jiri.
Oh, Prochazka versus
Yeah.
Racic.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, those dudes, they're really good or whatever.
So
That maybe this is more of a you one. Like, I really just like, dude, I kind of don't care for that weight class.
yes and no. Okay,
It's like
so,
not my style of fighting. Like, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
You know, and like we're gonna talk about the main event like later and stuff, and like, you know, but like I just like, honestly, like the era of that weight class that I loved, like, was just like, dude, I loved John Jones in DC.
Oh, I was
No,
gonna say
I didn't like that
Chocolatito.
era either.
Really?
That era, I can recognize that was the prime weight class in that era. I can recognize it, but I still preferred watching, like, during that era, like like Dean Thomas, Yves Edwards, Josh Thompson. Like, those were the guys I wanted to watch. Sean Shirk,
Anderson Silva.
Yeah, like I just like, you know,
GSP.
maybe it was just because, like, you know, my weight class is lower and
Right.
I'm more interested in my weight class. But it's just like the style of fighting that I prefer to watch.
I was gonna say, I think you and I are in the same boat, where you and I think, kind of look at MMA, like real MMA occurring at under 170 pounds. You know what I mean? Like,
On the whole, yeah.
Yeah, not to
it's
say
it's the style of fight that I enjoy to watch the most.
Yeah, I agree.
it.
With that said, I thought that was an interesting fight, and I predicted that Jiri was going to lose.
Why?
I thought that is it Rakic or
Sure.
Rakic or I don't know, whatever. I thought that he was going to be just like super disciplined with his defense. I didn't think the ring rust was going to be an issue for him, and I thought he was going to be able to, like, you know, be defensively sound enough to not allow himself to get hit with any of, you know, Jiri's, you know, just wildness. And also Jiri, and I hesitate to say this because he's obviously made it work for like an unbelievable career, but his style is sloppy in some ways, especially defensively.
Absolutely.
And in particular with some things that, like, we do at our gym that I always tell our guys, like, don't do this, he'll do.
And then they see it and they're like, oh, that worked.
And I'm like, man, I just feel like, you know, like a John Jones would exploit that horribly.
Yeah.
You know, Poetan, obviously, you know, can exploit those things. Like, I just feel like guys at the level that I like to see can exploit some of those sloppy things. Now, with that said, certain sloppy things make for entertaining fights.
Yeah, I mean, it did get pretty entertaining, and it looked like it was going to be a bonus fight there for a little bit.
And also,
with that being said, I still didn't care for it.
Yeah, and also, like, with that said, he makes it work. You know, his so-called sloppiness is what allows him to land some of these crazy offensive things that puts people away. So, like, maybe I'm off on that, you know, but, like, I think Jiri's an interesting guy, and I like him. And to be honest, I'm glad he won. I think, like, I'm a bigger fan of him, but I didn't expect him to win. And I also don't think that he's going to be, like, I don't think he's going to turn into, like, a John Jones, like, at the top for a long period of time type of guy. Could he get the title again? It's possible, yeah. But, like, I don't see him as, like, a long-term champ based on his style.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up the prelims. And I do want to touch on every fight on the main card. I have something that I feel like is interesting about all of them. So let's just go bottom to top. Let's do it. Keep a good order.
First
so we're
one's
talking
Bo,
about
right?
Bo Nickel versus Cody
Brundage.
Brundage. Yeah. And it was a significant step up in quality of competition for Bo Nickel. So
Going into it, what were your predictions, and did you have anyone who was like, dude, the odds are so off?
No. So my prediction going in was first round finish.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I was going first round finish. That was my prediction going in.
I thought there was a 0% chance that Bo lost.
Yeah.
And people were like, dude, the odds are, like, kind of off. Like, you know, I'll put a little bit on Cody Brundage because, like, you know, if he wins, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, there's 0 chance. Like,
Yeah, you
people
put
are like,
a little
Bo's
bit on.
like,
What was he running? A plus what?
I don't know, 1,000 or something. Like,
Yeah, so even let's just say he was a plus 1075, right? Like, oh, we'll put a little bit on him for what?
to lose that money.
To lose that money? Right, it's like, oh, I'm only going to put $10 on it. All right, cool. You're going to put $10. You're going to lose it to what? Win $100?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, the only way that an upset there is like worth it is if you're putting like a decent amount of money on him,
and
to where
you think he could win. I don't see any path to victory. And I had some people who were kind of like being a little contrarian, telling me like, oh, well, you know, he's only got 5 fights going into it, whatever. And I'm like, dude, to be a 3-time NCAA champ,
4-time finalist, U23 world champ, Olympic trials finalist,
and more importantly to me is how he does it, right? The dude's a pinner. The dude is flowy. He hits big moves. Like, I know I've talked about this with you a million times. I probably said it on the pod, but like, I remember seeing him years and years ago in one of his championships and being like, if that guy transitions to MMA, he will do unbelievably well.
Yeah.
And the other thing, dude, I think he beats Chimaev right now.
Dude, I do too. But I do think that, like, you know, hopefully that fight, I think it was a good thing for him. I think, number one, he got to experience going to the second round. Number two, you know, like, he needed to not walk. It was good for him to not walk through somebody.
Yes, great experience.
With that ease. You know what I mean? And people are just putting so much on him. Like, dude, like, he's 6-0, right? Like, if anybody else was 6-0, they wouldn't be in the UFC yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I remember Cody Garbrandt. He got in the UFC at 5-0, and we were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And then at weight classes like 55, 70, 85, 45, like, dudes are like 6-0, and now they get to fight for like a regional promotion.
Championship.
Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
no, like promotion.
Yeah, get to a
you know what I mean?
promotion.
You're like, oh yeah, like you got to like 4-0 through like your local, and now you're gonna move to like
CFFC,
Fury,
like something like that.
Something like that, and blah blah blah. And then now you're like 7-0, and now you're gonna fight for their title. And stuff like that,
and
then oh my god, now you're not. You defended it. Now you're 9-0, and you're in the contender series, and and I think that was the path that Bo had probably envisioned him taking. Maybe like doing it all though at like a more regional level promotion, but like, you know what I mean? Like he's been did he have one pro fight outside of basically the UFC organization? And then
it's either one or two.
I think he had one.
I think it was one, though.
I think it was one pro fight outside of basically the UFC umbrella, then 2 on the contender series, and now 3
in the UFC.
In the UFC.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I mean, he did only have 2 on the contender series, and we know he had 3 in the UFC, and he's 6-0, so that leaves one fight unaccounted for. And I hope that, like, you know, they keep stepping him up appropriately. You know what I mean? And I think he should be fighting like a ranked opponent in like 2-3 more fights.
That is the right thing to do, and deep down I hope that's what happens, but there is that part of me that hopes to make the Chimaev fight now.
I don't want to see it now.
What bothers me is a lot of MMA.
You know what I would love to see? I'd love to see Islam wrestle Jordan Burroughs and Chimaev wrestle Bo Nickel, since they think that they can out wrestle these people.
That's the thing.
You can get smoked.
People are like, yo, Chimaev's wrestling is so good, and it's like,
okay, MMA, how do you do at Worlds?
Yeah, dude.
It was the Swedish national champ. You know what happens when you're the national representative of your country? You go compete at the World Championships. How do you do? I don't know.
Actually, Mike, let me ask you this. You know more about wrestling than anyone I know. Yeah. Can you tell me who are the top 3 greatest Swedish wrestlers of all time?
No.
You know why? Because they're not that good at wrestling. No offense, Sweden, dude. But like...
No offense, Sweden. Not no offense. No.
Offense.
Offense. Get some. Offense. If wrestling. Thanks.
Ugh.
No, I do think Sweden's like in the Greco more so than freestyle. I think that's like one of their things.
But regardless, like, I don't think Chimaev's level of wrestling is so far ahead of like anyone's, to be honest, that it's like, well, I shouldn't say anyone's. I think for MMA against certain people, yeah, it's going to look unbelievably dominant, right? But I think against Bo Nickel, it's
not going to look dominant.
I don't think it's going to even look good.
I don't think so either.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think he gets a takedown?
No.
Yeah, I don't even think he gets a takedown.
If he gets a takedown, it's because like Bo's like going like
right, going for submission or something stupid,
something wild, and like, you know,
and he won't stay there.
No.
And, okay, so then also look at Chimaev's style, right? Chimaev against Bo, or against anyone. If Chimaev can't get the takedown, what's going to happen?
Well, here goes the thing. Bo doesn't have the striking to
right. I'm not saying that he's necessarily
punish the lack of the takedown.
Right, but what I'm trying to get at here is Chimaev is such a shooter, and he's such an explosive shooter that he always gets tired. And he does, to his credit, he does perform pretty well while he's tired. But like, if you can't take down Bo Nickel fresh, and now you're tired.
Yeah, dude, it's a wrap. I'm not even gonna entertain that. They're stupid. He sucks. Compared to Bo Nickel, Bo Nickel's the man. Bo Nickel's gonna be the champ. I hope that Bo continues to build at the appropriate rate. And people are going to talk shit about it, but guess what? If you don't improve at the appropriate rate, people are going to talk shit on you were given these opportunities. So they're going to talk shit anyhow. So you might as well do what's best for you. And here goes the thing: at the end of the day, you start taking these ranked fights in the appropriate order. Everybody's going to spin around, just like he said in his post-fight speech. Mm-hmm. He was like, "You're all going to love me," and dude. You all are gonna love him, right?
I mean, dude, I don't know how you don't love him now.
When he's a dominant champ, right? Like you're not gonna have shit to say bad about him, and he's a good dude. You know what I mean? It's like if you're hating on him, it's just for the sake of it. You know, it's just to be contrarian.
Additionally, so I heard some things and saw some articles or whatever about him being on the main card, even though he only had 5 fights.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, first of all, one, he does belong there, right? Because I think I think you and I see what his potential is.
So that's what it is. So yeah, should he be on the main card on merit? No, he shouldn't have been on the main card on merit.
Fair.
It could have been a great prelim on merit, a great prelim on that card. Okay, should he be on the main card of UFC 300 on merit? No, he shouldn't have.
Fair.
All right, but here goes the thing. He's going to be a champion. He's going to be a dominant champion.
Yes.
He's going to be like a transcendent figure in mixed martial arts, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're going to be able to be like, oh, like he was on UFC 300 main card. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like his catalog is going to be better. So it was an investment in his catalog.
Yes.
Like that's what it was.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart move on the UFC parts. The other thing is, like, I heard people like saying like, oh, Bo this, Bo that. Do you think Bo Nickel was the one who was like, I'm on the main card?
Yeah, do you think he's got that, like he can do that?
Yeah, do you think he made a call and was like, hey, I'm going to throw my weight around. You have to put me at 300. And the UFC was like, oh, we don't want to, but we have to now. No, they chose that.
No way,
Of course
dude.
he said yes.
Yeah, of course, like it wasn't him doing it. Of course, it was the UFC doing it because they have foresight and to see what he's going to be.
Yeah, to be less of a fan of his because of the UFC's actions.
He's on a pay-per-view in his 5th fight, right? They run him the right way. They run him in a chronological order towards the title. Boom, next thing, dude, eyeballs have been on him for 10 fights, right? It's like similar to the O'Malley thing, right? But at a different level, pretty much. And they're getting these main eyeballs on you while building you.
And I would say that he has more merit than O'Malley did because O'Malley strictly came from fighting. He was this massive superstar, more so than his, merit within the sport. Bo, not necessarily this sport, but wrestling, very, closely related, is already a superstar. He already has, like...
Superstar.
How many matches do you think he's wrestled in his life?
Easily over 1,000. Easily.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was creeping on 2,000, right?
I would have to like sit down and crunch some numbers on what I would think about that, but like, we know
good college wrestlers who have like 1,000 matches, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely had 1,000 matches,
right?
But like, my thing is like, okay, like you're 6 years old, how many matches do you wrestle? You're 7 years old, how many matches do you wrestle? Mm-hmm. So and like he came up like towards that end of the era where we were like wrestling less. We're like, man, we're really like kind of abusing these kids. Yeah. But like, what you got to understand is like as a youth, right? You're like 10 years old, right? Mm-hmm. You're 10 years old, 70 pounds. Okay. Well, on Saturday, you're wrestling at the North Allegheny tournament and you're wrestling 10 and under 70 and 12 and under 70. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, on Saturday, you had 8 matches. Guess what? You're running out to the Connellsville tournament on Sunday and you're doing the same thing.
Yep.
Next thing you know, you're running down 16 matches a weekend. Boy, before you know it, the season goes from November to March, right? Like before you know it, you're hitting 100 matches in a youth season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then like the older you get, usually the match count goes down. For example, in college, Cale Sanderson, 159 and 0. Mm-hmm. He averaged 40 matches, a year, right? Mm-hmm. Now, like these NCAA champs, they're finishing off the season like an undefeated NCAA champ, 24 now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like now they're like almost not getting 100 matches.
Right. So what I was trying to get at, doesn't matter if it's 1,000, 2,000, is that one, he has tons of competition experience. And maybe a better question is this: how many high pressure fight like UFC atmosphere.
He's a 4-time national finalist.
That's what I'm trying to
He
get at.
wrestled on ESPN under the lights.
And Worlds.
Yeah. But ESPN under the lights in front of packed stadiums. Stadiums with the same seating capacity as the T-Mobile Arena. Right? Under the lights, 1v1 podium ESPN. Right? Like not behind a pay-per-view wall. ESPN. 4 times he wrestled in those moments. Not only that, he lost his first one to a guy that he then went on to beat like 5 times and lost him again once too. This guy he beat in the finals 2 years later, right? His second time in, okay, he moves up a weight class and beats a 2-time defending champ to win his first. The next year, he pins the kid who beat him as his freshman year.
Did he pin a guy?
And he pinned him to win not only the national championship for him, but for Penn State. It was Ohio State and Penn State in the tightest team race in the modern era, and it came down to that match.
Yeah.
And he pinned him to secure it and win the team title for Penn State as well.
That's what I'm getting
on ESPN as a 21-year-old kid.
That's what
I'm getting. You know what I mean?
At.
He did his first, he was 19. He was 20, 21, and 22 on ESPN.
That's why, like, sometimes you see people who outside of the UFC who do really well, and they come to the UFC in their first UFC fight, and they don't do so well. I never once was concerned about Bo Nickal's like performance at all, because in my opinion, wrestling is the best base to deal with that. One, the volume of matches, and two, in his instance, the like you're saying, the big light matches, you know, which in my mind are pretty much the same thing as like a fight mentally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those ones, for sure.
And maybe even more.
It's a whole season cumulative to
and
get
like you said,
there.
the team aspect
the team aspect of it, and like look, if you're in the UFC, like okay, he had that happen. He fought in April. He's probably going to fight again in the August and then again in December, right? So he's going to do it 3 times in 1 year. Dude, it's only once a year, and only the top 2 are in it. Like, you know what I mean? So there's, in my opinion, like a little bit more of like, man, all this work went into this, like, you know, type of moment. But there's that. Let's move on off of Bo Nickal. I thought, like, you know, let's just touch on, like, you know, like, I just feel like people like thought like he would do more, and Cody Brundage was a little more game than people were anticipating. And Bo, like, you know, he booed himself, and I think like that, like, I wish he didn't do that. Like,
Me too.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, in one sense, it like shows like humility, and that you also have like high aspirations for yourself, but. You know,
second round finish on UFC
second
300.
round finish, dude. You're 6-0, 100% finishing streak. You're now 3-0 in the UFC.
There's nothing boo-worthy about that.
Yeah. I'm impressed by you, and you're going to continue to impress. Yeah. So let's move on. The next fight was Charles Oliveira versus
Arman
Tsarukyan.
All right. I believe I could be wrong.
But okay, we're just going to run that. So. To be perfectly honest, I was not very familiar with Arman Tsarukyan, even though that's in the prime weight class that I would watch, and he was number 4 in the world. You know, I did take a little bit of a hiatus from caring about MMA for about 4 years. Yep. So I think that was during his build-up time, and even now, like, you know, like as like basically like, even though like we're only coaching like currently, I think by halfway through this year, we will have 7 pros on our team, if I count correctly. Even when we were like coaching like all amateurs, we were still professional coaches. Like that's because we are coaching for a living.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So as a professional coach, like it's important to probably watch it, but you get a little less opportunity to watch it as a fan. And like, you know, the UFC's on basically almost every weekend, and as a lot of you listeners know, we've spent the majority of our weekends, especially like, you know, like if we jump it back a week, 7 of 8 weekends out coaching. So that means if there was a UFC event, all 8 of those weekends, I'm missing 7 of them, you know? So there's a little bit of that, but I was super impressed with him.
I don't want to say I wasn't impressed with him, but I expected exactly that.
Okay, so you have more, like I didn't have, like...
So his wrestling and grappling are just like top notch, and so like people.
So maybe that's why, because like I was like, oh, he must be a striker.
So and the thing is, his striking's great too. So like people are like, oh, you know, Oliveira's that guy that, you know, you drop him, you don't want to go down. I was like, there's no way that Arman Tsarukyan is afraid.
I would like to say that his takedowns were like, I'm gonna go back. I have Fight Pass. I'm gonna go back. I'm probably gonna watch his catalog, right? Like I'm going to go back, I'm going to watch every one of his fights that they have on there.
You're going to enjoy his grappling.
And I'm like, dude, I was like, man, this is how I would want to be. I would want to be like this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I really enjoyed that.
Watch his fight with Islam. I think you'll like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, Charles Oliveira, obviously a huge fan of him as well.
Oh yeah.
And it was a closely contested fight. What were your opinions on it?
I kind of thought it was going to go that way. Obviously, I leave open the option that, Charles could have won.
Well, who did you think won?
I would say Armin.
Yeah, me too.
Like
I thought he won second and third round.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I'll tell you something later, dude.
Right on.
Just remind me to tell you something about that.
All right, cool.
But yes, I agree.
Here goes my thoughts on it. I thought he lost the first round. I thought the guillotine attempt was a serious attempt. I thought being mounted warranted losing that first round. Second round, I thought it was pretty clearly Armin. And then in the third round, I thought it was pretty clearly him as well. And then if you watch like the post-fight interview, Joe Rogan's like, he's like, man, one judge gave it to him. Like, what's up? And Joe Rogan was like, well, it was probably the close submissions in the first and the third. And like right then, I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. I appreciate what he has done for the sport, and I appreciate that he comes to the sport with actual knowledge. Mm-hmm. But there's a little bit of waning knowledge in the grappling area right now. Okay,
I think that's been the case for a little while. But
okay, maybe I was just like rose-colored glasses because I just appreciate
he's done so much for the sport,
right? You know what I mean? And he's the man. But that Darce, although it was a submission attempt, that had no shot.
I was gonna say that at no point was I like that's close.
Right. So
actually, let me ask you this: if it was, you know how one does it, where it's called a catch, right?
Catch.
Would you call that a catch?
So that's a tough one. So that would be one where your gray area on if it's a catch. So what can constitute it being a catch? Is it, in your opinion, is it that the other person has to defend? Is that it? Because I believe that that's what a criteria is determined to be.
Not knowing that, what I was assuming was, is there a chance it gets finished?
So I believe that is I believe that there's just some gray area in there. And from my understanding, it's as if it causes you to defend. Right? Because you wouldn't need to defend if it didn't have a shot at getting finished. Mm-hmm. Right? Now,
I have a follow-up question about that too.
Go ahead.
Okay, so in my mind, and remind me if I'm wrong, because one, I'm socializing a little bit, I'm whatever, I'm not paying the closest attention to every fight, but from what I remember, he had this position for a long time. And then as he shot it through to get to what could be a choke, Armin went onto his stomach.
Yeah, he was flattened out.
Right.
Which is something I was impressed with. And not to toot my own horn, but we have some really good Darce people in our organization. So people are very good at Darces. You have a very good Darce yourself. I often train with one of my really good jiu-jitsu competitors, Alex Hudik, has ridiculous
unbelievable Darce.
Right? If I'm going to defend his Darce, dude, I'm bellied out.
Yes.
Right? It allows you to open up the area between the shoulder and the
So
neck.
you taught me this, right? When I was starting to get good at Darces.
Oh, this is the one time where you were like, jiu-jitsu doesn't work, right? Because I went like this and then I was like, ugh, and I just stood up.
Well, no, that was because of the stand-up. That's absurd. That's kind of unrelated, but and yeah, I didn't believe in jiu-jitsu for a couple months after that. I was like, yo, why does anyone do that? Just lift weights, just stand up. Derek Lewis it. But anyways, I remember you teaching me. You were like, listen, if I'm on my back or on my stomach, there's basically no chance you're going to finish that Darce, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I do. If I'm stuck in a Darce, I'm just belly down or on my back, and I'm never going to get stuck.
If I can keep my shoulder separated from my neck, here goes the thing, you need both, right? One's not going to do it. So if I can keep a gap here, so if I go belly down, right, and I'm able to scap my shoulder back, you're unable to close that area, you're not going to be able to strangle me. Now, everything comes with a consequence. You now have a free circle towards my back if you elect to take it. But that's actually a little tough on a Darce because the side you're going to circle to is like locked in deep.
Yeah.
So you are in kind of a situation with the darts. With an anaconda, it's a little easier to release and then circle behind. And the same thing, like if I go to my back, you know, I can use like essentially like
the same sort of
like mechanics, right? I do find it's a little easier for people who have the strength to force it in when I'm like going backwards and then when I'm going belly down. But
to take it back to a catch, and why I personally would not call that a catch with
I wouldn't call that a catch either,
is because he used a position to defend the attack. In
Correct.
my mind, that's like you huck an overhand at me, I step out of range. Did you force me to do a defensive move? Yeah, but like there was no chance of that hitting me because I was in a position you couldn't get me, right? And when he was here, like, you know, maybe he had a better position, but as soon as it got locked up, he was on his stomach, and it's just like not finishable from there.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, it wasn't quite close enough. I could be convinced otherwise, but
it was not close enough in my book. You know, and I have an understanding of what was happening, like on the belly out position there, which was, you know, it was cool to see. But to me, it's like if you throw up a triangle and I posture up out of it, did I defend? Did I have to defend your triangle? Yeah, I had to defend your triangle, but it never really like.
It was a positional defense.
It wasn't like I was in it and then like having to like work out of it. Yeah, it was a positional defense
as opposed to like a technique defense where you have to like step around or, you know, whatever.
And that definitely, even if it was on like a real darts, I don't know if that overcomes the 4 minutes prior. The 4 minutes of being in top turtle.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think it overcomes the 4 minutes prior. So to me, even if that was a catch, that's a
little too little.
That's a 2-1 win for Arman and Sarukian, and it wasn't a catch, so it was a clear 2-1 to me.
So let me ask you this now: who do you think gets the next title shot at?
It's done.
155.
They
announced it?
Yeah, it got announced that night. It's Dustin Poirier, Islam at UFC 302.
Oh, dude, how did I miss that?
Yeah, UFC 302 in June.
Oh, wow.
They also announced UFC 303, Conor versus Michael Chandler
I saw
at 170.
That.
Dude, I think before they even announced it, Michael Chandler, he was in the crowd. Like, you know how they go, like, oh, there's Israel Adesanya. And it's like Michael Chandler, and he's doing it, and he went 303.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and I was like, cool. And like, here goes the thing. So I watched the pay-per-view on Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah, Saturday night, I ordered the pay-per-view. And in between the Bo Nickel fight and the Charles, I fell asleep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then I had a bunch of stuff to do on Sunday. So then I watched it Sunday night. So from what I understand, from my understanding, you know what? I talked to Katie about that, and that was not it. It was things of that nature.
Oh, that makes more sense. Because that is a filler thing. It doesn't add.
Yeah.
Like when you say, to my understanding...
Let's not go into that.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
We're just going to move on from that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that just... Sidebar, it was, things of that nature.
Got you.
Things of that nature. Yeah. So I believe in the post-fight press conference, Dana White was handed a note, and in which he read off like those things. He was like, all right, 302 is Dustin Poirier versus Islam. 303, Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, 5 rounds at 170. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, okay.
That makes sense. I missed it. Like I said, I was socializing and, you know, not paying super close attention. And you said that was in the post fight, or
the post like Dana White's
post event.
Yeah, post event.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So either way, like there was some controversy. There were some people with differing opinions on the Charles Oliveira, Arman
Sarukian.
Yeah. Fight, and I just got to say I agree with the decision, and those are the reasons in which why I agree. Now let's move on to the banger of the night.
Real quick, before we get to that, do we want to not talk about Jim Miller at all?
Oh,
I just thought of that, and I did kind of want to talk about him actually.
Let's just give him a tip of the cap.
Yeah, that's
basically all I want to do. You know, he lost the fight. Bobby Green looked phenomenal, but Jim Miller fighting in UFC 100, 200, and 300. Jim Miller was the first CFFC lightweight champ. You know, that was a title that I strived to have held. I got to fight for and stuff. And you know, the first 5 CFFC lightweight champs went to the UFC. And I was looking to be the 6th.
Jim Miller's just a legend, dude.
But yeah, just a legend. So tip of the cap to him. And you know, he's not. Yeah, I don't think he's done. He didn't retire, did he? Nah, so we'll see him again, but it's just cool like that he was on all 3 of those marquee events.
Yes.
All right, now to the banger of the night.
Yes.
Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje.
BMF title on the line.
BMF title. Give me your thoughts on anything you want to talk about that fight.
Okay, so, dude, first of all, like, what a better BMF matchup than Holloway and Gaethje.
Dude, honestly, dude, the BMF belt just belongs at 55.
It kind of does.
It's just like, yo, because, like, all right, who is not fighting for the weight class title who wants to just, like, put on a good fight? You know? It's like, dude, this belt should just be like, the division is Max Holloway up from 45, right? It's Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and Eddie Alvarez should come back to the UFC.
Yeah.
That's the division right there. Just those dudes just doing wild stuff. You know what I mean?
And, you know, I'm going to throw Nate in there as an honorary, you know.
Nate, but he has to go to 55
Yes.
for it. Yeah, for sure. That's it, dude. That's the BMF division.
I agree. I agree. Dude, I love that.
Yeah. All right, so like, you know, it's a cool fight. I'm glad, the main thing I liked about, so like I was like a little indifferent about the whole BMF thing when it first came out.
I still kind of am. Like,
I still kind of am too a little bit. I just
but with that said, it was fun.
It's I'm being pushed more so towards it now.
I agree.
Than where I was initially. What I like about it is it was a way to excuse the fight to be 5 rounds.
Yeah, dude. Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, thank God.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
all right. Let me say this. I thought that the fight was almost not quite living up to expectations until the end. I don't want to say it wasn't a good fight or anything.
It was a good fight.
It was good, but like.
But we only needed to see 20 seconds of it.
Right. And let me give you a good example. Gaethje and Chandler, right? That whole fight was like, right, from start to finish.
Yeah.
You can't take your eyes off of it, right? They're getting dropped back and forth. Whereas this fight, it was like, there were moments of, I don't want to say not entertaining.
No, there were moments. The spinning heel kick at the end of the first round that broke Gaethje's nose.
That was wild.
All right, that's something worth talking about. And that's something worth talking about on a separate episode.
Yes.
About injuries.
Yes.
And how they impact you in training and all this stuff, and like mid-fight injuries.
Yes.
And how they change things.
Yes.
And like that lends itself towards MMA. Like, you know, that's why not always the best man wins.
Right.
Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like in like a sport that's a little more consistent, you know, like
even boxing.
Know. Yeah. Okay,
like,
even boxing.
Usually the best guy wins.
But like, let's say wrestling. Like in wrestling, like, you know what I mean? I would say it's like 90% of the time, whoever is the better wrestler is going to win. And in MMA, it's like, I mean, I'm hard pressed to find a sport that's least. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like all the different ways it wins, all the different intangibles that could happen in the fight that completely change it, and things like that. And that's something that completely changes it, right? This is a 5-round fight. Justin Gaethje's nose is just broke. Now he has to breathe out of his mouth. How does that affect his cardio? Things like that. If he was lesser of a psycho, how does that affect his willingness to exchange?
Right.
You know? Which would affect your game plan. You know, there's broken hands all the time. How does that affect your striking, your grappling, all that stuff?
But I thought the fact that it wasn't a banger every second of it made the ending that much better.
Right, because you had to call for it. Now let's talk about the ending, because that's what everybody wants to hear about, and that's what I want to talk about.
Yes.
Was it a good idea for Max Holloway to step in the middle and point to the ground?
Clearly, yes, but on paper, no.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think, you know, he's winning that fight. In my opinion, he's, you know, up on the scorecards.
He was.
And
I mean, it's just a fact, right?
Right.
They had the scorecards at the end. He
I
was up
didn't see
3-1.
the scorecards, but that makes sense to me. And also, what's Gaethje's best chance of winning?
A knockout.
Right? A knockout. Well, actually,
In a firefight.
Actually, he should have taken him down. I was saying that. I was like, dude, wasn't he an All-American wrestler, right?
Yeah, he was an All-American wrestler for the University of Northern Colorado, who just last year had their first Division I NCAA champ, Andrew Alirez.
And I'm like, dude, why don't you ever shoot? Like, it would make your game so much better. But regardless, like, realistically, his best chance of winning is sitting in a firefight and hucking bombs. Because in my opinion, he's the hardest puncher at 55.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some debate. Doesn't matter. He's one of them.
Right.
And so if you want to win this fight, why would you then give this guy the best opportunity he has to win it, right? Now, I'm glad he did. It obviously worked out for him, so who am I to say that was the wrong call? But on paper, I think it was the wrong choice.
Here goes. So I hear your I hear your sentiment, and I agree with that in a small view. Okay, so the small view is the goal at hand, which is to win this fight.
Right.
All right. Now we're gonna go bigger picture. Here goes why it was a good idea. Okay, so it's gonna be a 20. It's at this time, I believe it was like let's call it a 15-second exchange. All right, you have to not get knocked out in these 15 seconds while hucking. All right. Actually, what are the odds you get knocked out? Percentage. I'd say it's about a 1%.
And also, you know what, to support what you're saying, who knows what Holloway felt for those 25 or 24 minutes or whatever, and he was like, oh, I know that X, Y, and Z is coming, and I feel good about it.
Yeah, there's all that, and maybe he's like, man, maybe he's like, oh, like, right now, Justin's not hitting as hard.
Yeah, there's that.
So,
too.
like, let's scrap it out here.
Right.
And I do not think, I would be surprised if he made this decision consciously in the moment, okay, where I'm going, right? So I would say it was unlikely that he was getting knocked out there. I'd say it was more unlikely than likely, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Like, I think the most likely occurrence is that they just scrapped it out and the bell rang.
Yeah.
Right? I think that probably happens, honestly, if they repeat that, I think that probably happens, let's say, 95 out of 100 times.
I agree.
Right? With one time Holloway getting knocked out, one time Gaethje getting knocked out, and like,
Maybe
okay.
they both get dropped a couple times.
Or something weird, right? And stuff like that.
Gaethje throws himself off balance with the punch.
Yeah.
Drops himself.
Spins himself into the cage. Yeah. So it was unlikely that he was going to lose the fight because of it, right? Now, what did he gain because of that? Well, first off, he got this remarkable knockout that he wouldn't have had the opportunity to do since then. Now, let's say he doesn't get that knockout. He still called for the center and threw it down, right? The knockout is definitely icing on top, but I think people have the same feeling about Max Holloway if that knockout doesn't happen, because he called him in and fought that out. He drew the line in the sand and he went and he just slugged, okay? So here goes.
Upheld the BMF like ideals.
Okay, so here goes some things. Number one, that is a remarkable, memorable moment that he has now been known for because he did it to Lamas.
Yep.
And he might have done it another time. So he's known for that.
Right.
All right. Number two, it now gave him the title shot at 145, right? Because that's a memorable selling moment.
Yep.
All right. So now he gets the title shot at 145, which I'm going to say that I don't know if he should take. This is off. We might get into this. We should probably get into this. I don't want to get into it right this second. I want to finish my trains of thoughts here. But I kind of think he should stay at 55. Now,
I agree.
If he's going to be the champ, though, it's going to be at 45. But I think the best Max Holloway is at 155. But the best chance to win a title is at 145. So what I'm saying is 100% Max Holloway has a 5% chance of being the lightweight champ. Whereas an 85% Max Holloway has a 25% chance of being the featherweight champ. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you're saying. Explain that to me again. So you're saying that at
So 55, I'm saying if you want Max Holloway to be the best Max Holloway,
yes,
he's going to be at 155, right? That's where he will be the best.
Right.
But I think that he has a less of a chance of winning the title at 155.
I actually don't think I agree with that.
Okay. I just don't see a way that he can beat, like, Islam.
I think we're going to dive into what
Armin Tsarukyan. Yeah, like, okay, these are my opinions, right? I think he could be the 145-pound champ. I do not think he could be the 155-pound champ.
I don't think anybody at 45 beats Ilya for quite some time.
Okay, yeah, I think Max Holloway beats him in October. So
really,
yeah, we got that. I think rather easily, and then he's gonna, I think they're gonna have to rematch because that's what you do. You always rematch, and I think he smokes him again, and then I think they start working on Volk 4 or something like that.
Dude, okay, hold on. First of all, I love Max. So if he beats Ilya and then he gets to beat Volk,
no. He's gonna beat Ilya twice by April.
Well, regardless, I'm just saying once or twice or 3 times doesn't matter. And then he also gets the chance to beat Volk and get that back, bro. Then he is by far the greatest heavy or featherweight ever, like completely undisputed.
Yeah,
like that's just unbelievable.
It's like, no, that was just me talking shit. But what I wanted to say though is like, it's just like a percentage thing, right? Like if you think like. you don't need to be 100% of yourself to be a champion at what I perceive to be a weaker weight class. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, and see that's interesting.
You're just disagreeing with which weight class. Yeah,
I think that he has a better chance.
You can't disagree
Islam.
with my opinion of math, though.
Oh yeah. Well, not only that, also I agree with you 100% that I think he's better at 55.
Yeah, he's better at 55. I just think that, like, you know what I mean? Like,
you think he has a better chance against Ilya than he does against Islam?
Yeah,
and that's where I think we disagree.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, he definitely has a better chance. I mean, it's okay. This is where you're wrong. It's fine. You're allowed to be wrong. You've been wrong. Remember on your top 5 UFC fighters never to win a title? Remember how you completely, like, agreed that my list was right? I do remember this.
Bro,
so you have a habit.
I'm fine with being wrong.
Of being wrong.
Let me ask you this, though. How do you see the path to victory against Ilya versus Islam?
He's just going to beat him up, and Islam's going to take him down and submit him. 100%. 100%.
I mean, I to be honest with you, I think he loses to both of them, but I think he has a better chance of beating Islam.
I think he has a 0% chance of beating Islam. Like literally, like.
But you think it's likely that he beats Ilya?
No, I was just saying that.
Oh, got you.
But I think I'd say it was a 20% chance, 10% chance. If they fight 10 times, I think he wins 1. Yeah. If he fights Islam 30 times, I think he wins 0.
Dude, let me ask you this. This is so off topic. We can get back on in a second, but Ilya, Islam, who wins?
Islam.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Ilya could win that.
Okay, well, I hope we see that.
50 too.
Oh, I think it's like 95-5.
I think that however good everyone thinks Topuria is, I think he's way better than that.
Yeah, I just think that like he'll cover him and just destroy him. I think he submits him.
Very possible.
I think he submits him. All right, so anyhow, here goes other reasons why it was a good idea. So number one, now he's got a title shot, right? And people are like, oh, how do you get a title shot fighting out of division? That's how.
yeah.
That's how, all right? Right there. So number 2, it's a $300K bonus night, all right? He knows this fight has to beat that fight that already happened, right? Boom, here goes a way to get that $300K bonus. And then got that knockout, here goes icing on top. Now you got the performance bonus.
Yep.
So literally calling that out earned him $600K plus. Do they get pay-per-view points if you're in a title fight if you're the challenger? But I'm sure it's I'm sure you're getting paid more in a title fight than a non-title fight.
Yeah.
Right? Plus that, plus whatever other stuff comes with having more
accolades
of that moment, right? Like whether it be a commercial, things like that.
Just being the highlight of the year.
Yeah.
You
know what I mean?
So, okay, I can agree with that 100%. And, I think we actually disagree a little less than I thought because I think it basically gets summed up where on paper, it's not necessarily the right decision to make. And that's a big thing about MMA is like there's a lot of things that on paper don't make sense because it's like there's a 60% chance of this and a 40% chance of this. Let's make this decision based off of that. But that doesn't mean that 40% chance thing isn't happening.
Right.
You know what I mean?
A good way to like cross-reference this is like the Aljo fight. Right? Where it's like, okay, and it's not like, had he not pointed to the ground and called in the center, it's not like everybody would have been like, man, I wish Max would have done more.
Right.
Or everybody would have been like, oh, that was a really good fight. Right. Oh, Max, BMF champ, this and that, and stuff like that. But,
you might have been left wanting more.
No, I don't think so either. I just, I don't think that. That's what I'm trying to get at. How we're left wanting more out of Aljo, I don't think we would have been left wanting more without that 15 seconds.
I can see that. That it truly was.
Right? Like, if Gaethje just came out and, ran at him, hucked it, and Max, came off, kicked, overhand, and, boxed it out like regular, I think everybody would have been like, man, good performance, guys, and stuff like that. But,
You're saying it only elevated things.
It only elevated.
And didn't have, No, I can see that.
And, ultimately, like we're saying, that's an extra $600K plus the unseen money that we don't know yet. How does that affect his sponsorships, title fights, maybe other promotional materials, things like that bring in more money moving forward as well. So you're looking at a big deal for a 99% chance or you're comparing it towards a 1% chance it costs you this fight.
Right.
And that 1% chance, if it costs you that fight, guess what? You're still getting $300K.
That's a good point.
Because if you get knocked out, you guys are still getting the fight of the night bonus.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So,
and not to mention, it probably has less of a negative effect on his career going up a weight class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, I think you make a good point there. That's a while maybe on paper not the best thing to. I don't even want to say that because you made a really good point, but
competitively and athletically in the moment of the fight, like in the true, like in the spirit of the sport,
right?
The spirit of sport, of
winning this match.
Yes, right. It's like you. Here goes a great example that I think everybody's going to get. All right, we're up by 6. Okay, the clock. You know, I'm going to kneel it. I'm going to kneel it right now.
Football.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kneel it. Clock runs out, I win the game. No, I'm going to try to throw a touchdown. Then you're like, oh, there's a chance you throw a pick and they return it for a touchdown, you lose the game. When all you had to do was take a knee, and then you win.
Right.
Right? Like he could have took a knee.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. Okay, that's a great example.
But he was like, nah, dude, I'm gonna bomb this.
And you know what? Like MMA, I think it's less of a pure sport, right? Like it drifts outside of the realm of, and people get mad when I say this. There's nothing good about being a sport, but like like sports in my mind are very like objective, you know what I mean? And I think that fighting kind of surpasses a lot of that, and there's other emotions and things attached to it. For example, like the BMF belt,
right?
And so doing that embodies some of those outside things,
and it does. And some people view that as a positive, and some people view that as a negative. I lean towards that's a negative aspect. You know what I mean? I think you lean towards it's a positive aspect.
I very much enjoy the entertainment aspect of it.
Yeah, I lean towards it's a negative aspect because the entertainment aspect takes away from the merit. You know, it's like, for example, like Bo Nickel being on the main card, he doesn't merit that. But we understand in an entertainment aspect, this is going to allow them to build him to then make more money on these shining moments that they believe that he is going to have. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It'd be like being like, oh, like, hey, we've got the NCAA championships and we're actually going to show you a junior high state championship match right in the middle because this kid's a freak and we think he's going to wrestle in these later.
Right.
Right? Like, it's like, oh, yeah, actually, it's not a state championship match either. It's actually a quarterfinal in the losers bracket.
Right.
But we just like really think he's going to be really good later.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't get there on the merit. And I think that's what people don't like about it, you know? And what people do like about like the sport, right? It's like the NCAA like basketball tournament. Like you can't lose and then still be the champ, right? It's like, you know, like it's like, oh, the Super Bowl. It's like, oh, you know what? We're actually going to put the Patriots in it, you know, even though they lost, like because they sell good, and stuff. So like that's like the negative aspects of that. But like, you know, there's always good and bad that comes with all that stuff. Let's move ourselves on to the women's strawweight championship fight.
So I don't have a whole lot to say about this, but what I do have to say
Let's talk about the choke, like the unconscious moment at the end of the first. That's all I want to talk about too.
Yeah, okay, so first of all, let me say, unbelievable that she got literally choked out and then went on to fight the whole fight.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy, and I thought they should have took a point off of Wei Li for that.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, she choked her out after the bell.
Oh, she held on too long?
Oh, yeah. The bell had rung, and she was squeezing on this choke, and then, like, what's her name? Whatever her name is, she's there, and the bell rings, and then she's still being choked, and then she passes out.
Oh, see, maybe it's because I couldn't hear the bell real well, but I thought she just let go when it was time. She held it long.
Oh, yeah. She held it long.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
but that's what I'm not seeing a lot of people catching.
See, I completely missed it because, again, I'm with people.
Yeah, everybody's like, well, they woke her back up. That's crazy to let this go or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. That like what would happen if they stopped it? Would this be like a disqualification? Would it be a no contest?
Interesting.
Like, what is it when you do a finish, like when a fight gets finished after the bell?
Right. It's like, actually, there's a great example of that. Anderson Silva and Michael Bisping.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Didn't that knee land like right when the bell ended or something like
that? Yeah.
So, okay. Oh, man, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, so first of all, if they were to do something about it, yes, I think take a point from Wei Li because when the bell's over, you gotta, if they do something about it. And again, I'm not saying
I don't know if that's enough. Like, dude, that's borderline. Why? Because it's a strangle? That's borderline DQ to me.
Well, I would say if you want the fight to, so I would be good with DQ. I would be good with taking a point. And I think along with the point, you have to give, what do they call blood time in MMA? Injury time?
Yeah.
You have to give her injury time at the end of that minute.
Well, because here goes my thing on it. Like, it's a choke. So, like, you know, like, you're going to wake up and you're going to be fine, as we saw she was.
Right.
Right? But, like, what if it was an arm lock? And she breaks her arm.
Yeah, then it's got to be a DQ win.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, well, as long as it's a strangle, right? What if it's an elbow and it cuts her?
But also, how long does it take you to fully recover from that choke? So let's say she wakes up after whatever it was, 2-3 seconds, right?
Right.
What if it's 15 seconds till she's like, oh, I'm back on, right? She
Also,
should get those 15, 20
Are
seconds
we 100%
back.
she was fully out? Because here goes what something like maybe some people who don't partake in the grappling arts know, or even some people who do partake but maybe have not experienced this level of it.
Your body can stop working, but you're still on.
Right, well, not just that. Like, there's times where like I'm released from a choke, whether it be after I tap, but I didn't pass out. But like I'm not like able to function with the swiftness in which I normally would. Right,
Exactly.
like I'm like whoa. I'm like still like I'm not all like it didn't make the blood didn't all make its way back yet.
Right. Like the way I've never been put completely out, but like for me, if I'm getting choked, like I see like black start coming in.
Yeah.
And luckily I've always tapped when it's still a circle, right? And it's never gone away. But for me, it goes like this. And then sometimes at different rates too, especially depending on like gi chokes, they stay longer. But it goes like your vision comes back at like it's not all at once is what I'm trying to get at, right? It takes a little bit of time.
Right.
And while that's happening, like my body just doesn't work. Like there have been times I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hop up and shoot on this dude right away. And I'm trying to hop up and I'm like, I can't get up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think she should have gotten extra time for that. With that said, do you think that affected the outcome of the fight?
No.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I don't. I don't think it affected it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. That's just an interesting point of contention.
But dude, how tough is Jan to have that happen and then just like go fight the rest of the 4 rounds? Like that's pretty wild.
I don't think that's pretty wild, just because I've experienced that a lot.
I would have complained.
To like,
I would have been like, give me more time.
There's been times where I've escaped a strangle,
Uh-huh.
and like was in that like moment, like, but like I've escaped, so the roll's still going.
Did that happen the time that you walked up the cage?
No, I that never got to the point
Gotcha.
of like near strangle.
Gotcha.
No. Yeah, but I mean, there's just been times of that where I'm just like, whoa, you know, and you're not really out. So, you know, she might have not really have been, you might just be, you're a little like out of it, but you're not really out.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm glad we both want to talk about the same thing in that fight, because I was like, I don't got anything else to say.
Yeah, that's it. I got from that.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're on to the main event. The light heavyweight champion. Boom.
Dude. Poatan is so good.
Yo, dude.
First of all, can we just say, how did he ever make 85? I just stood next to him at Brittany's fight, like, not too long ago. And, like, I'm not, like, short. And I was looking at this dude, I was like, yo, they say that you're 6'4", but, like, you might be a little taller than that, dude. Like,
yeah.
He's big.
Yeah,
like,
I felt that too.
And he just had this air. Like, dude, I've been around certain UFC fighters where I'm like, I would slap that dude up, right?
Yeah.
When I'm around this dude, I'm like, yo, there's, even when he's like an 80-year-old man, if I was fresh and in my prime, there's like, he just like has this aura of just like, he can crush anybody.
Yeah.
Like, dude, he's so good. Also, on a technical level, his striking, like, there's been a lot of breakdowns I've seen that are like, you know, pretty good. His hand positioning, his distance control. The one thing I don't see a lot of people talk about is his left hook. Like, so if you look at his left hook versus Izzy's left hook, Izzy leans back on it, right? And so, yeah, we are getting center of mass moving like the way the strike is going, right? And like that obviously is the important thing, not rotation, which boxer size instructors teach. But like, when you watch Poatan do it, look at his upper body. It's almost always totally vertical. And like, that's such an important thing in striking. And like the fact that he gets that much force on it, and like every time you see him push that left foot into the floor and just shift his weight perfectly with it, like, dude, there's a reason he's as good as he is. Like,
yeah, dude, if this dude played baseball, he'd be hitting home runs.
Oh yeah, I
like,
think he would, like, every
think about
time.
That, yeah.
And I've heard people talk about how he's like kind of like slow, and I think relative to other fighters, perhaps he is a little bit on the slower side, but his positioning, his timing, and his power are just so good that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know? I don't see anyone beating him at 205 unless there's an explosive, crazy good wrestler. Like maybe Ankalaev with a better chin could beat him, maybe. But like, dude, I don't see anyone at 205 beating him. And to be honest, I think he could beat anyone at heavyweight too. I'm not saying he would beat John Jones and Aspinall, but those are the only two dudes who I think like give him problems. I shouldn't say that. There are some guys who, like Pavlovich, could, whatever. But like, dude, he's such a monster.
Yeah, I enjoy. I like I said like earlier. Like I'm not a huge fan of like that division, but I am a fan of watching him fight.
I'm a big fan of watching him. He's kind of the way Chael was for me, where like obviously I got really into Poatan with like his Izzy fights, and I'm such a big Izzy fan that I was like, oh, I don't like this guy. But then like afterwards, I'm like, yeah, that dude's awesome. You know what I mean? And his story is awesome, and the fact that he was a 2-division glory champ,
and he's hilarious.
Dude, he's so funny.
He's so funny, and he doesn't even like speak English. He's so funny,
dude. And he's also like legitimately super hard.
Yeah.
Like dude, when he walks, bro. First of all, the only thing I was disappointed about with his performance, he didn't walk out with the full headdress. Dude, when he walks out with the headdress and he does his, like, bro, that's just like. That's like the stuff I watch this sport for. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so fired up about that. Dude, here's another thing. I was talking about this like right before the fight went down. I was talking with Josh Polens, and he was like, oh yeah, Jamal could land like straight punches, which he could. That would be a way to victory for him. And I was like, dude, I think Jamal's scared. Did you feel that at all?
Yeah.
You did? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm glad I wasn't alone in that. I thought that some of the things he was doing, like as the fight was starting, and him like breaking the bow and talking and stuff, I was like, oh, he's scared.
Well, I thought the whole like whenever he shot the arrow, when he caught it, and I was like, that was pretty cool.
I mean, it was kind of cool, but like
what do you do? Just stand there and just like.
But like, okay, so someone who I think like wouldn't be afraid to fight Poatan, let's just say like Fedor, right?
Yeah.
What's Fedor gonna do?
He's not gonna be looking at him walk out.
Yeah, he doesn't.
His
care
back's
about him
gonna be
all.
to him.
Yeah. Just doesn't care at all.
Yeah, but that's just a personal thing, right? Like, yeah. And also, so Fedor, when he walks out, is he gonna shoot an arrow?
Yeah, that's true.
So like,
but let me ask you about this: Poatan, if he was in the cage first, would he have watched Jamal walk out?
I don't know.
That's 50-50 for me. I think I could see him just going full stoic Fedor style. I could also see him watching him, but I don't feel like I would look at that and get the feeling that Poatan was scared.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think Alex has been scared of anything in his entire life.
I agree. Yeah. So how about the pushing Herb Dean off right before the knockout?
Incredible, dude. Incredible. Like, bro, to get kicked in the, I don't think it hit him like square in the nuts. I think it was like top of the top.
It like flicked.
But for him to push him off and then
pushes,
boom, get that hand position, brother. It doesn't get much better than that. And then, like you said, the celebration.
Yeah.
Totally straight face, just like, dude, hilarious.
Dude, he like loves that meme, right? He loves it. I could just see him. He's probably like watching it, like doesn't like speak English and stuff, and it's just like ho ho ho. ho
yeah.
Ho, 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 ho. Yeah, dude.
Dude, he's the man. And what's sad is he's 39, I think.
What?
I know he's in his late 30s.
Oh, no.
Now, if he goes up to heavyweight, I still think we could get a quality 5 more years out of him. You know what I mean? But with that said, I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that we have around for like 10 years.
Well, you figure he's already in his second athletic career.
Right, exactly. So, that's unfortunate because, I love him in the sport. I think he's hilarious. I think he's incredible. I think, he legitimately is the only person who I see in the near future who could potentially be a 3-division champ. I mean, he's awesome.
Yeah.
There's not a single fight you could put him in where I'm like, I don't care to see that.
3-division champ. What do you think the 3 easiest weight classes are to become a 3-division champ?
I think it's probably 85-25 heavyweight.
85-05 heavyweight to 205.
That's what I meant, yeah. Or if someone's really young, 25, 35, 45. But they have to start super, like they have to like be in the UFC in their early 20s, barely able to make 25. Then they go up to bantamweight and then they keep growing out and they make 45. And they end up like a legit 45 sizer. Other than that, I don't see any other way it happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could see 45, 55, 70 only because if you look at the 2-division champs, actually, dude, honestly, I'll take that back. So, for example, like let's talk 2-division champs. Mm-hmm. And here goes, so we've never had a 25er also be a 35er.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Cejudo.
Yeah.
Cejudo. So we had Cejudo do it in 25 and 35. Mm-hmm. But have we had a 35 go to 45? No. 45. No, because think of, I can name you every UFC champ. Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway, Volkanovski, Topuria. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's it. So none of those were 35ers. So we never had a 35er go to 45, but we had a 45er win 55 with Connor, right? We've had a 55er win 70 with BJ.
Yep.
We've had a 70 win 85 with GSP. We have an 85 win 205, and we had a 205, and we have multiple 205s winning heavyweight.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that there's multiple 205s winning heavyweight, and we did have an 85 win in 205, I do think that right now the numbers trend to it being 85, 205 heavyweight.
And also, like, not only size-wise does that make sense, but when you look at the skills, like, we have, like, 85ers in the UFC who could beat up a lot of the heavyweights, right? Like, okay, first of all, how many heavyweights in the UFC? 25, 30, something like that, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody outside of the top 10, I would be willing to bet that, like, the top 5 middleweights beat all those dudes.
Right.
Like, pretty consistently.
Do you think Connor could be the 170-pound champ? Because then he would be a 30-division champ, so maybe that makes that the most realistic. What do you think's more realistic to actually happen? Connor being a 170-pound champ, or Alex being the heavyweight champ?
I would say Alex.
I'm going to say Connor.
Interesting. See, here's why I don't think so. Connor has to win this against Chandler, right? And this fight's gonna be 55.
No, it's 70.
Oh, it's 70. Okay,
it's at 70. So then Connor would then have at least 2 wins at 70.
Okay, but do you think they would give him a title shot off of that win?
No, I don't. But I think they could set him up with somebody, and then he could get the title shot after that. And I think, do you think like if Conor McGregor beat Leon Edwards, is that wild?
That was the other thing I was gonna say. Is it has to be the right people. So if Conor,
if you're telling me Alex beats John Jones, that is wild to me. A heavyweight John Jones, wild to me.
Really?
It was absolutely wild to me.
I don't think it's likely. I think Jones just takes him down.
But you think it's more likely than Conor beating Leon?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Oh, wow. Man, I'm questioning your
Actually, no,
knowledge.
I shouldn't say that. No, I shouldn't say that because Conor is a legitimately good striker. Do you think Leon would take him down? I don't think so.
I think they would just strike that bad boy out.
Okay, you're probably right about that. I think there is a better chance of that happening. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think it's more likely that they have him fight, Poatan fight Aspinall?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't know if they jump into that. I think they try to keep Poatan like smaller to like maybe do Izzy again.
That's
at 205.
That's super interesting.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
So I don't think they like try to like push him the heavyweight.
But real quick, going back to Conor though. So he wins this at 170, right?
Yeah.
Then he needs to get another win at 170 in my mind.
Preferably over an actual 70-pounder.
Exactly.
Someone he can fight like Gilbert Burns.
He needs Edwards to still be the champ when he gets there because I don't see him beating Colby.
Who's looking at the next? So Colby is just far down now.
Yeah.
So who's the next? Who's fighting for the title next at 70?
That's a good question.
Is it Bilal?
There's a good argument for that.
Okay, so then winner of Bilal Leon. You're telling me that you couldn't see Conor knocking him out?
Yeah.
I'm not saying
he will, right? I know.
But
but yeah, no, you're right. There's a possibility there. But who does he fight next? Because like who's next up after that? In my mind, the people who make sense are like Colby, Kamaru, right? Like guys.
Kamaru's at 85.
Oh, he's staying there.
I don't know that, but I would say not Colby. I would say they don't entertain that fight. I would say someone like Gilbert Burns.
Dude, I think if Gilbert Burns decides to stand, then he gives Conor the chance. If he takes Conor down, I don't think it's a wrap.
I mean,
well, maybe not. Jack Della Maddalena. That's actually kind of an interesting fight.
That's winnable for Conor too.
Because they'll stand.
And that's winnable. That's
a
winnable fight. So I just see a real path there. Also, like the real path for Alex, like you have to like beat either wait for Aspinall Jones to happen, or you have to beat Aspinall and Jones. No, both. You have to beat. If you go Aspinall, then you have to like. Ultimately, you have to beat Jones, unless you wait for Aspinall and Jones to go. And let's say Aspinall won. That's it.
Now, here's the thing: is that Jones will eventually lose to Father Time, right? I mean, if he keeps fighting until he's 60, eventually someone's going to beat him.
I would not be surprised Jones retires on top. Like,
oh no, I agree. But I'm saying like if he continues to fight forever, eventually he drops off, right?
eventually.
Yeah.
But like, dude, that could literally be. So Jones is 37 years old, right? He's now at heavyweight, which
Could be in 10 years.
dude, it could be in 10, and he could be like, I fight once a year. I fight every October 4th.
But
like, you
it
know,
also could be sooner, right? Because eventually everyone's chin gives out, everyone, loses a step, whatever. And we don't know when that's going to happen, right?
well, here goes the thing. If he's only
Alex
fighting
gets
once a
lucky
year,
and catches him at that time, then it's possible.
it is possible. I just think like, yeah, yeah, it's whatever.
No, I think you're right though. It is unlikely. I think Jones takes him down, and
Yeah, it's just unlikely.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that was UFC 300.
One more thing about 300, the bonuses.
Yeah, we talked about them.
No, dude. Here, everyone was like, "Yo, did you see the bonuses were 300? That's so cool." I thought the opposite. I was like, "Dude,
I got something to say.
they could have made the bonuses so much, maybe not 300 for every card, but they could absolutely afford more."
Wait, it was just
average.
300 for this card. It's back to 50.
I know,
right.
but what I'm saying is like, and obviously UFC 300 is going to make more money, but if we average that out over the course of all the cards, they could have upped that to 100K per bonus, or even if it's 75K, but like more than 50K. And in my mind, that just like
Do you remember?
bothers me that
Here goes something that like kind of gets me like it. I mean, I think it was before I was a pro. So we're talking, or my early pro career. We're talking 15 years ago. The bonuses used to be 60K. Yeah, dude, they used to be 60.
that sounds familiar now.
Yeah, they used to be 60. Wait, hold on. Connor, wasn't his one thing 60 G's, baby?
Dude, no,
I think it was 60 and not 50. At that, there was definitely a time where they were $60,000, and then they dropped to 50.
Dude.
And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe, remember that first Connor one where he was like, Dana, 60 G's, baby? Or like, I believe that was 60 at that point in
Maybe.
time.
Now let me ask you this:
We'll have to look
Did they
that up.
add more performance of the night bonuses?
So what they used to do is, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, it's either been the exact same fight of the night. It used to be submission of the night, KO of the night, and fight of the night. And then they switched it from that to performance of the night because there were times where there was one sub on a card and it was not very like impressive, but you automatically got sub of the night. Right? So they switched them to performance of the nights because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it used to be 60.
Dude, see, like, again, to me, that's just like a demo. And don't
Like
get me wrong.
15 years ago, it used to be 60 a fight.
And don't get me wrong, I'm really glad that those guys made 300K for each of those bonuses. Like that's awesome. I'm very grateful that like they're giving money to the fighters. With that said, it also in my mind is like a display that the UFC has this money to give to fighters and they're just not.
Yeah.
You know? And like you're pointing out is that like, and I think you talked about this on the last pod too, is that with inflation, their bonuses have gone down like probably almost 50%.
Yeah.
You know? And
that's
like,
what I was talking about on that one. I was like, dude, I debuted for 400 and 400, and now it's 15 years later, and people are debuting for like 350. I'm like, man, you guys took an L, and there's inflation,
right?
And like tickets, like general admission tickets, are now like $50. Dude, I got a ticket. So I have a ticket stub from my first fight, because it's when I fought Danny, and that's how I met my wife. She saved her ticket, right? $19. You know what I mean? Like it was $19 for general admission back then.
Yeah, dude. And I'm not one of those people who is like, oh, the UFC, if you look at how much they pay out relative to other like sports organizations, because I also understand that like the UFC is a marketing machine that does things for their fighters that like boxing promoters don't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they help produce stars in a different way. With that said, I am always going to err on the side of fighters making more money. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I'm happy that they made more money, but I also think that's like just really highlights the fact that like those bonuses need to be higher just across the board.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thought on it. So like bittersweet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all right.
That's all I got for 300 though.
Well, that's 300. So we're going to finish it up with some wrestling talk. We got some fun stuff coming up for me this weekend. We got the Olympic team trials, in which, there will be 6 Olympic weights per style. The styles are men's freestyle, women's freestyle, and then men's Greco, in which we will determine who our Olympic representatives are. For the men, the freestyle is kind of like where my my attention is. Like
most people.
Yeah, it's where you're gonna see the most views and stuff on that. But there's 2 weight classes that there will be 2 people who make the Olympic team who don't know if they're going to the Olympics. They're still not done. They still have to go. So at 57 kilo, 125 pounds, and 65 kilo, 143 pounds, we are not qualified for the Olympics. There might not be a USA wrestler allowed in the Olympics.
What? How does that work?
Only 16 countries per weight qualify for the Olympics.
And one of our guys might not qualify.
Yeah. I mean, we have one last opportunity in May. You have to take top 3 at the last chance tournament, or else you're not in the Olympics.
Oh,
dude! Last Olympics, we didn't have a 65 in last Olympics.
Really?
Oh yeah, we were only represented at 5 weight classes. We won a medal at all 5, but our 65 we weren't in.
Wow.
There was no team. There was no United States representative in there.
I did not know that. That's wild.
Yeah. So the ways that you qualify are by taking top 5 at the prior year's World Championships.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And that's an automatic.
You're automatic. Your country's automatically in. So whoever you're
gotcha. Oh, so even if you retire, your country still gets that spot?
Oh yeah. It's because you might not make the team the next year.
Oh yeah.
You might get beat out for the team. You know what I mean? Your country, right? So at the 2023 World Championships, we qualified at 74 kilos with Kyle Dake being a world silver medalist, losing to Sadakov of Russia. At 86 kilos, we won the world title with David Magic Man Taylor. At 97 kilos, we qualified with Kyle Snyder, who is the youngest ever Olympic gold medalist for wrestling, for United States wrestling. He took bronze. Mm-hmm. And then at heavyweight, Mason Paris of Michigan University, he took bronze at heavyweight. So we qualified at the Worlds there. So then our next opportunity to qualify, our 57 and our 65 kilo guys, Zane Richards and Nick Lee, they did not medal or place top 5. So now they go to the Pan Am Games, the Pan Am qualifiers of 2024. So, North and South America all smushed together. Each they're called a continental. The Pan Ams, the Euros, the Asians, the Continentals. And if you take top 2 there, then you qualify for the Olympics. And we are traditionally a shoo-in to take top 2. Because if you look at the Pan American countries, who is there?
I assume Cuba's lumped in there.
Cuba's in there, but Cuba has fallen off a cliff. Dude.
Really?
I don't even know if they have any. I don't think they've qualified anybody for the Olympics.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
so then there's nobody else, right?
Dude. So here goes the problem. We've got Puerto Rico, their own country, right? Mexico, Canada.
Wait, does Mexico produce good wrestlers?
Well, that's funny that you would say that. Mexico kept us out because Austin Gomez, who, born and raised in Illinois, is of Mexican descent, so was able to wrestle for the Mexican, went and got dual citizenship.
Gotcha.
And can wrestle for the Mexican team, and he beat our guy.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
Now, hold on, let me ask you this. Has there ever been a Mexican or Canadian wrestler who did really well, internationally, who didn't come from the U.S. school system?
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Canadian, but not a Mexican, and I'm not aware.
Gotcha.
I'm not aware.
Does Canada have decent international wrestling? Or am I just hating on them for no reason?
No.
No, they don't.
No, they're not terrible.
Okay.
They're not terrible, but for example, actually, Canada's. I believe it was Canada. I believe we lost to Canada in the 2016. Or was it the 2020? We lost to Canada in an Olympic final.
Wow.
2020. The 2020 Olympic final at 76 kilo women's, Adeline Gray. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they have, their diamonds in the rough or whatever. No, is that the term? Needles in a haystack or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, so, that's what that is. So we need to qualify. Oh, and at 57 kilos, we were beaten out by the Puerto Rican representative, Darian Cruz. He beat us. Darian Cruz, former NCAA champ for Lehigh, born and raised and never left the Lehigh Valley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Born there, went to high school there, went to college there, still trains there today. Right? You know what I mean? Never left.
Yeah. Wrestled for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and beat our guys. So now we got to go qualify at the Last Chance Open, but it will be our Olympic team members who go. So the trials will happen first. But yeah, it'll be a very exciting weekend. In other wrestling news, a quick tip of the hat a quick tip of the hat to Coach John Smith of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Coach Smith was the head coach at Oklahoma State since 1992, where he took over the program while still competitively wrestling. He was on the Oklahoma State team from, 88, 87, 86, 85, 84, 83 to 88, the fall of 83 till the spring of 88, and where he won 2 NCAA championships. And during his time there, he also won a Goodwill Games, which happened in 1986. That's something that I don't know if you guys are aware of the Goodwill Games, but they were like happening in between the Olympics. So the Olympics were like 84 and 88 and 92. The Goodwill Games would happen on the 2 years in between, and they were like kind of like challenging to be like
the next Olympics.
Or like an all like type of thing, like like McDonald's and Wendy's.
They were the Bellator to the UFC.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So he won a Goodwill Games in 86, and then he won 6 straight world and Olympic titles from 87 to 92. Doing it in 1992 while being a co-head coach at Oklahoma State Cowboys.
What a legend.
Yep. Some consider him the greatest American wrestler ever. I certainly do. He also invented the low single. Some would think, oh, that was his best shot. I think the low single actually was second to his high crotch. He had an incredible high crotch. But he coached several national champions, several All-Americans. He coached national championship teams, things of that. And I do have a fun story that I'd like to share.
I was going to say, he had a pretty positive impact on your life.
So although he was never my wrestling coach or anything like that, he did coach me through one aspect of my life. Funny enough, he has no idea. But so the Oklahoma State team, during the 2019 NCAA championships, they were utilizing our facility to work out, Stout PGH down in the Strip District. And I'm watching them work out, and, I used to chew tobacco. Okay, so I have a dip in, and I'm sitting there watching them, and Coach Smith comes over to me, and he goes, boy, you ought to quit that shit. And I just I go, ha ha, I like laugh it off, nervous laugh, and he pulls his lip down, and he's got a dip in. And I'm like, super confused, and I'm like, oh, and he goes, I gave it up for Lent 2 years ago, never felt better, and now I'm really confused because I'm like watching it. I'm watching it with a dip in. Pulls a can out of his pocket of this stuff called hooch. It's nicotine-free, tobacco-free chewing tobacco, like pretty much designed to help people quit.
Coffee crowns and stuff like that, or something.
Yeah. So he gives me this can of hooch, so I throw my dip out, I put that one in. And I hated it. I hated it, but I put the face on like, oh yeah, it's great, coach. I'm gonna try it, work on quitting, and stuff like that. So I throw that out, whatever, and it's NCAAs. So I chewed throughout the whole tournament. I'm sitting in a stance.
Which also, for anyone who doesn't know, chewing is very closely tied to the sport of wrestling.
It's
they just go hand in hand.
Common thing. And my wife had tried to get me to quit chewing for, the entire time of ever.
Also me. I was like, yo, dude.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, so then March 23rd, the NCAA finals, I wasn't going to deprive myself of enjoying, a couple nice dips during watching wrestling. But on my drive home, like I said, they were held in Pittsburgh. On my drive home, pack my can, boom, throw the dip, finish off that can, so now it's an empty can. And I'm driving home, and I'm like, that's it. That's the last one. I was like, I'm not buying a new can, right? I get home, I sit in front of my house, and I just wait till it gets all, I hold it in way too long, because I know, this is my last one. This is my last one. Boom, throw it out. Never had one since, just broke 5 years. Heavily inspired by Coach Smith. When you see one of your heroes come give you a piece of advice, someone who I've only been even in the same room as him 3 or 4 times ever. So give you some individual advice, individual attention might hit a little different. So yeah, congratulations, Coach Smith, on a great career. Hopefully, he announced he was a commentator for the 2020/2021 Olympics due to the COVID pushback, and it was phenomenal having him commentate. So, Coach, I really hope you do some commentating. The wrestling world would be better off with it. All right.
Absolutely, dude.
All right.
What a legend.
Yeah, definitely a legend. All right. Well, that's it for us. We'll catch you next time on Listen to Your Coaches.